Hi, Coach Stephen Arnold here, and in today we're going to continue with our video mini-series, which nutritional system or strategy is right for me. And today we're going to look at the keto diet. When is the keto diet the right diet? When should it be applied? So for those of you that don't know, the ketogenic diet is a very, very low carbohydrate diet. All of your nutrients, macros and calories are going to come from proteins, fats, and then some garden salads, leafy green vegetables and stuff like that. So carbohydrates are very, very low. But what I think happens is carbohydrates get villainized unnecessarily. And it's not normally the carbohydrates that cause the problem, it's their application of carbohydrates that's caused people the problem. So where we do see common problems with carbohydrate application is people choose the wrong source. People get their carbohydrates from a worse selection group, which would contain things like fizzy drinks, beers, lollies, sugars, burger buns, and chips. If they simply change their carbohydrate sources to a better choice, things like root vegetables, grains, fruits, lentils, beans, they would find that a lot of their problems would disappear and they could still keep carbohydrates in their diet. So the wrong source is a big problem that causes carbohydrates to be villainized. And another problem is the amount and the timing that people have carbohydrates. We can only actually transport a set amount of carbohydrates out of the small intestines every hour due to GLUT transporter availability. So that amount is about 65 grams per hour of a single source, or if we combine sources, if we had some glucose and sucrose in a meal, then we could get up to 75 grams per hour transported out of the small intestines through those GLUT transporters. So if you were to sit down and have a big meal of like 120 grams of carbohydrates, you're going to get digestive discomfort because you had too many. And then by totally eliminating carbohydrates and going onto a ketogenic diet, people then don't get that digestive issue, but it's not because they've removed carbohydrates, it's because they're now not having the wrong amount within a short period of time and causing that digestive distress. I think if you had the right source and the right amount at the right time, you're going to eliminate a lot of the problems people get. And the last one is also total calories. So carbohydrates don't cause people to gain weight. Total calories determines body weight. The laws of thermodynamics can never be denied. They're a law of science that can't be denied. And if you understand the laws of thermodynamics, you will know that macronutrients do not control body weight. Total calories is what controls body weight. 3,000 calories is still 3,000 calories, regardless if it comes from proteins and fats or whether it comes from protein, fats and carbs. It's still 3,000 calories. If you eat in a surplus, you can gain weight from just chicken breast if you had too many calories. It's the calorie content that determines body weight, not the macronutrient breakdown. So the laws of thermodynamics dictate body weight, not macronutrient breakdown. So carbohydrates will only get you to cause weight if you eat in excess. But you can cause that, you can still create that from eating protein and fat. And what tends to happen is when people do eliminate carbohydrates from their diet, they're actually eliminating 1/3 or even more. If people are eating in excess, they tend to eat in excess of carbohydrates. So you might be eliminating 50% of your total calories for the day. And that's how people lose weight. It's not because they've stopped eating carbohydrates, it's because they've reduced their total calorie content. I had a discussion with a girl once. She was on a ketogenic diet, and she did absolutely fantastic. She lost like 50 kilos, so absolutely credit to her. Great work from her. And I said, is it because you've eliminated carbohydrates from your diet, or is it because you're eating in a calorie deficit? And she said, oh, it's just carbs, carbs made me fat. And I was like, no, carbs don't make you fat. Eating in excess makes you fat. And by eliminating carbohydrates, you've only reduced your calorie content. That's what's caused you to lose weight. The laws of thermodynamics cannot be denied. They're a law of science. So I think this is why people choose it, because they see people get results, but you can still get results, the same results, from just modifying or applying different application of carbs into your diet. You don't necessarily need to completely eradicate 1/3 of the whole food groups. We just need to know and have better choices and be a little bit smarter with our application of carbohydrates. So when is the ketogenic the right diet? Well, I'm totally not biased to any system or structure. I think we need to be open to science, be open-minded with our nutrition and design what's best for the individual. We're 100%, every single person on this planet is different. We act different, we look different, we think different, we perform different. And we know that, so why can't we apply that principle to our nutrition as well? Why don't we all have separate nutrition systems that are designed specifically for the individual, rather than trying to pit people into groups? I think that's the right approach, and we adopt and we can design that correct approach by gathering the right amount of information, rather than saying this group, that group, this group, you fit here, you should follow this group works best, this diet works best. It doesn't. It's about understanding the individual and applying a nutritional system that fits them and meets the client where they need to be met. But the keto diet is something that does get results for sure. I have a couple of clients that are applying these principles, and it's when people have a very low insulin production. So when the body is not producing insulin, we then can't get those carbohydrates or those glucose, as they are at the time, from the bloodstream into the muscle cell. They float around in the body and get turned into triglycerides, causing cholesterol and excessive weight gain, fat gain. It could also cause a bit of inflammation in the body as well. So the ketogenic is definitely the right diet for the right people. And how do you determine if it is the right diet for you? Well, the first thing to do is, if you do suspect that carbohydrates are causing you problem, would be to get a glucometer from your local pharmacy. This is a little device, and what we would do is we would take a large source of carbohydrates first thing in the morning in a fasted state, normally through orange juice or some kind of fruit juice. And then we would take your blood glucose reading, and then we would take it every half an hour for the next 3 hours. And we would hopefully see a decline in the blood sugar levels through that period. And if those levels didn't drop off, then we would say, okay, we have poor insulin production, and then we need to allow the body to heal and repair. So the ketogenic would be the right diet at this time. If you are thinking about doing this glucometer, then just get hold of me, message me, and I'll send you the correct protocol to follow, and then you can see where your insulin production levels lie. Also, the elimination diet. You can try to eliminate some sources of carbohydrates. You can try to eliminate carbohydrates altogether, see where you perform best, and see how you feel. So if you are consuming some of these, then take these out and put some of these in. And maybe like you have a sensitivity to some vegetables or some grains, and you don't need to go onto the ketogenic diet, but what you do need to do is remove white potatoes, or you might need to remove quinoa from your diet, because this is causing you the problem. So an example of that is, I was working with a client. She was preparing for Miss Galaxy Australia national finals, and we couldn't figure out what was causing her inflammation. She thought that she needed to go onto the keto diet, but I knew that wasn't right. I knew she could take carbohydrates, so we tried to do the elimination diet, taking foods out, and we got there. We almost got the answer, but we didn't quite get the answer. So we had to do an IgG food sensitivity panel as well. And once we did an IgG food sensitivity panel, again, just a simple blood draw on your finger, this told us that she was highly sensitive to rice. It wasn't carbohydrates that were causing the problem, it was specifically rice. And once we had that information, we then looked through the diet that we did, and we found there was a trace element of rice in her protein powder. And that was causing her the problem. So the elimination diet, we took some foods out, and the IgG food sensitivity panel confirmed it, that rice was causing her inflammation. We took the protein powder out and the trace of rice, and then all of a sudden she dropped a load of weight, looked like $1 million, went over to the nationals and won. And that was like, we had to combine these two. The elimination diet is great. You can take foods out, see how you feel, see how your digestion goes, see how your body weight goes, see how your performance and your cognitive function go, see which foods react to you best, see which ones suit you best. And if you don't get all the answers, if there's still some things that are missing, then bring an IgG food sensitivity panel in. If you want to do an IgG food sensitivity panel, get in touch with me. I can refer you out. I can do that myself, or you can just look on the internet or go to a naturopath or a GP, and you can get these done pretty easily. They are a little bit expensive, but if you combine an elimination diet with an IgG food sensitivity panel, it's a lethal combination, a very, very powerful combination, great value for money. A lot of people slag off this IgG food sensitivity panel, and to be fair, if you did it on its own and you didn't know what you're doing, it would be a waste of time and money. But combine that with an elimination diet and a good practitioner, a good coach, and you're going to have some really great results. Another one is you can go to the GP, get him to test your blood glucose. Here you can do that for you. It will literally do what the glucometer will do. And you can trial and error, similar to the elimination diet. You can try to go keto for a week, see how it goes. You can try some carbs, low carbs, medium carbs, high carbs, and see how you get on. And what works for you today, what works for you now, might not work for you in 6 months. It might not work for you in 12 months. Human physiology is never static and it is never linear. Everything is consistently moving and changing. So it's good to always try things out. So there you go, guys. That's what the keto diet is. That's some common mistakes which villainize carbohydrates. You can get great results without removing carbohydrates. And this is what you can do to determine whether the keto diet would be right for you or whether a medium or high carbohydrate diet would be for you as well. And some facts, some benefits to carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are going to fuel performance, adaptation, and recovery. The muscle can use stored glycogen through a process called glycogenesis. It can break that glycogen down and use that for fuel when you're training, you're working, and you're performing. But your central nervous system can't. The central nervous system needs blood glucose for fuel. So if you time your carbohydrates correctly, you're definitely going to be performing better in the gym and at work. Adherence as well. So a lot of the time, people that are overweight and struggling to lose weight are so because they're eating an excessive amount of carbohydrates, all the farm foods. So if we were to completely remove those carbohydrates and go onto this keto diet, what we're going to find is that client is going to be craving those sugars and those sweet foods because they've been completely removed. So if we were to keep some carbohydrates in, it does help the client be adherent to a diet. And we all know that adherence is what wins the day. Being 80%, being 80% to an okay diet is a lot better than being 10% on the world's best diet. So adherence is the main factor. And if a client can't stick to a low carb diet, then it's just definitely not the right diet for them. More muscle, we all know we all have a better quality of life if we have more muscle. We look good, we feel good, we can perform better, we can pick our kids up, we can work better, and we have a better quality of life with more muscle. So carbohydrates are going to fuel muscle growth, which is another great factor and a great benefit to carbs. Another one is anti-aging. Carbohydrates help to stimulate IGF-1, growth hormone, and if you check on the internet, you will see that the areas in the world that have the longest life expectancy are also areas that traditionally have a higher carbohydrate diet. So if you go on and check on the internet, you'll find out that the areas in the world that do have a naturally high diet, also high carb diet, also have a naturally high life expectancy. And the last benefit to carbohydrates is they taste good. Why wouldn't you want carbohydrates in your diet if you can have them? So there's a lot to think about there, guys, a lot of work to do. Before you decide on which strategy is right for you, but definitely try not to put yourself into set groups. Like I said, we are all individual, so it's best to trial and error and find out what works best for you. Don't try to adopt a system, make a system adapt to you. That is the best way to move forward. And what works for you today might not work for you in 6 months or 12 months. So continue and be consistent and persistent with your trial and error. Try things out, see what works best for you, and consistently move forward with your nutritional strategy. I hope that's helped you out. If you enjoyed the content today, subscribe to my YouTube channel, so we have a lot more of these videos on there. Like my Facebook page, Stephen Arnold's Health Systems, and I hope to hear from you all soon. Peace out.